Hello, everyone. My name is Jane Rizzo, and I'm second vice president here at the Revere Chamber of Commerce. And it's my honor to have with us today my husband, Mayor Dan Rizzo. Dan is a past president of the Revere Chamber of Commerce, and I just wanted to ask him a couple of questions on his involvement with the city and how he sees the Revere Chamber of Commerce and his Economic Development Board working together to improve communications. Dan, hi.
Thank you for having me. So the question is, how do I see the Chamber's involvement in our future economic development plan? Well, I've always viewed the Chamber of Commerce as an extremely important member of our community. I know when I first started our business about 25, 26 years ago, we found a lot of value in being a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and then obviously working our way. I chose to work my way up the chairs because I felt that strongly about the Chamber of Commerce's impact in the community that I wanted to make sure that our business was very, very involved. So I rose through the chairs, serving as secretary, vice president, and ultimately president of the organization for 2 years, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And to this day, I still find an awful lot of value for businesses to belong to the Chamber. I think a strong business community, a strong business environment in our community not only helps the businesses, but I think it makes for a stronger overall community to live and work in. So I've been a huge proponent of the Chamber. I'm going to continue to be a huge advocate of the Chamber of Commerce. Whenever I meet new businesses that come into the mayor's office to talk about maybe locating here in the city or wanting to expand their business into Revere, I'm always very, very cognizant about mentioning the fact that we have a strong Chamber of Commerce, and I would appreciate them, maybe being in contact with them to talk about the opportunities that exist within the Chamber. So I'm grateful for what they provide our city, and we've got a lot of great members that I've created a lot of great friendships with over the years, and I'm sure that's going to continue. So I'm, just here at their disposal should they need our office, and I look forward to a very, very strong partnership with them as we continue to put a real focus on economic development in the city.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dan, Mayor Rizzo, and we look forward to seeing you at the next upcoming breakfasts, lunches, and networking events. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. We have an exciting program for you today, but first we'd like to especially thank Massachusetts Speaker of the House, Robert DeLeo. He's our guest speaker today, and he will be discussing economic initiatives regarding the city of Revere. Also, he'll be discussing the proverbial state of the city. He'll touch upon local improvement initiatives, what actions have been taken in the legislature to support Revere, economic development plans, etc. And we'll introduce Bob in just a few minutes. Right? Okay. Speaking of Bob's, I'd like to invite First Vice President Robert Upton to come up and start the Pledge of Allegiance.
Everyone, please rise. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. At this time, I'd like to recognize our city officials. Mayor Dan Rizzo. Senator Anthony Petrocelli. State Representative Robert DeLeo. State Representative Kathy Ann Reinstein. Councilor at Large John R. Correggio. Ward 3 Councilor Arthur Guanasso. School Committee Woman Carol Ty. Chief Jean Doherty. Police Chief Joseph Caffarelli. And Lieutenant Carl Ruggiero. I hope I didn't miss anyone. If I did, please let me know. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask our mayor to come up and speak a little bit about Revere's Economic Development Summit.
In deference to the speaker, I'll keep my comments to 25 minutes. Only kidding, Bob. This is going to be extremely brief, but something that the city is very, very excited about. First of all, spearheaded by our Director of Economic Development, John Fester, and our development team in planning and development, we are hosting an economic development summit. It's going to be held at the Comfort Inn on Friday, October 26th at 9 a.m. And it's going to be basically it's going to start off with a presentation. We've got speakers from the state and actually federal level. Congressman Markey will be there. Speaker DeLeo will be there. Representative Reinstein and Senator Petrocelli will be there to talk about opportunities that exist here in the city of Revere for development, redevelopment, and investment, and as well as there'll be a 10 to 12 minute video that will showcase a lot of these opportunities in the city. That will be followed up with a bus tour to all these available sites that will be showcased in the video, and then followed up at the end of it all with a luncheon at Antonia's down on Revere Beach, obviously so we can showcase our 2.5 mile ocean front to those that will be in attendance. We have received a tremendous response so far. We've got developers on a national and regional level, obviously on a local level, and so I want to extend this invitation out to all of you that are here that may be looking to expand your businesses or are interested. You may have partners out there that may be interested in investment within the city of Revere. We're very, very anxious, and we're looking forward to showcase our city and let people know that the city of Revere is open for business and we're ripe for development. So anybody that you feel might be interested in attending this summit, we'd encourage you to call City Hall to get further information. It's on our website at revere.org, or you can talk to representatives from City Hall that are here today, and we can help you out with that. So I want to thank all of you, and Laura, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
My pleasure, Dan. John and Dan, it sounds very exciting. Can't wait. Right now, I'd like to introduce our new chamber members. James Williams from PC Mac Computer Techs. Welcome. And Jim Velasquez from Antonia's at the Beach. He's not here. Oh, you are? Welcome. and also Pesci Pazzo, and they're not here. Okay, at that time, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. I'm going to read a little bio. House Speaker Robert A. DeLeo has represented the 19th Suffolk District, including the town of Winthrop and a portion of the city of Revere, and the Massachusetts House of Representatives since 1991. A graduate of Boston Latin School, Speaker DeLeo holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Northeastern University and a Juris Doctorate from Suffolk University Law School. Speaker DeLeo became Speaker of the Massachusetts House of Representatives on January 28, 2009. Starting from his acceptance speech, where he vowed to target House rules, ethics, transportation, and pension reform, he has set the House on a new path to reform. Within 100 days of assuming the speakership, the House passed sweeping reforms in each of those areas. In one of his first acts as Speaker, he instituted a maximum limit on the Speaker's term, capping it at 8 years. That means we only have him for 5 more years. Okay, can you change that, please? More recently, Speaker DeLeo successfully brought nationally heralded legislation cutting healthcare care costs for cities and towns in Massachusetts. The same session, he spearheaded far-reaching judiciary reorganization legislation in concert with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Judicial Court. And earlier this year, he reintroduced gaming and jobs legislation with the support of the Senate President and Governor. The gaming bill, recently signed by Governor Deval Patrick, made expanded gaming legal in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and allowed for up to 3 resort-style casinos and 1 competitively bid slot power. This law will create tens of thousands of jobs and millions of dollars in state revenue. During this past session, priorities included job reform, strong fiscal management, and reform that streamlined and improved the government and economy. As of July 31st, the House had passed major bills pertaining to expanded gaming, economic development, health care, civil rights, redistricting, repeat offenders, green energy, and pension reform. His efforts have won him the praise of the Boston Herald, which applauded DeLeo and his colleagues for passing the expanded gaming proposal, stating, "This Speaker and House members deserve credit for moving this along." Speaker DeLeo was also lauded for his efforts in passing a meaningful change, the municipal health care cost reform legislation, in a Boston Globe column. For the progress, we can thank House Speaker Robert DeLeo. Another Globe editorial noted that the reform has been even more successful than predicted, and Speaker DeLeo and his colleagues at the State House deserve credit for giving municipalities such an effective tool. In a recent editorial, the Boston Herald staff also credited Speaker DeLeo and the House of Representatives on their many achievements in the year 2011, noting that the legislature adopted a series of money-saving reforms and successfully redrew congressional and representative district maps by using a fair, transparent process. The Boston Globe also stated in a recent piece of redistricting, for the first time in decades, the legislature managed to create new state legislature in U.S. congressional districts that, by and large, put the voters' interests above the politicians. Additionally, the Globe stated that DeLeo showed political courage in seeking fiscal solutions to the economic crisis. He has also been called in the pages of the Globe an expert on the state budget. The Lowell Sun observed that Speaker DeLeo got the state's $30.5 billion budget passed in record time, got a major pension reform bill through the House, and passed a transgender rights bill, among several other legislative successes. And with that, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce our friend, the Speaker of the House, Bob DeLeo.
Thank you. I asked her not to read all that. Thank you anyways. And I do have 5 more years left. But as I stated earlier, if someone like Representative Reinstein's happens to file an amendment to extend that, that can always happen in the House. But thank you. I'm Bob DeLeo, and I approve this message. How many of you are tired of listening to that phrase? But it is wonderful to be here, and I want to thank the Chamber for inviting me and for organizing this interesting and informative fall speaker series that they've had, and I'm glad to be part of it. And I'm so glad to see so many of my friends and colleagues here today, of course, led by the mayor, who didn't think I was important enough that he had to wear a tie today, obviously. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As members of the council, Councilor Correggio and Guanasso, I think I saw, my good friends. Councilor Zambudo must be with Scott Brown, I imagine. And it's also great to see, obviously, my two colleagues, my two trusted colleagues who, as I said many times, I consider myself to be fortunate to work with people like Senator Anthony Petroselli and Assistant Majority Leader Kathy Ann Reinstein. Thank you for coming. I'm truly proud of the work that we have done in the legislature and across the state, tackling some of the big issues, from repeat criminal offenders to EBT reform. And by the way, speaking of EBT reform, we're still in the process of taking a look in terms of other changes that we may be able to make sure that those who truly are in need of financial help get it, but those who are taking advantage of the system will not get it anymore. And the person I just appointed to the commission to take a look at that was Kathy Ann Reinstein, by the way. So good luck and do a good job. And healthcare cost containment also is an issue which we've dealt with this past year. But I think that both Kathy and Anthony will agree that our number one priority is representing this great city. And I am so proud, again, to be part, what I consider to be the greatest legislative delegation that there is in Massachusetts. I think that all of us fight for the city. We are creating jobs, we are cutting costs, and we are cultivating the best possible environment for our families and small businesses to grow and to prosper. In the legislature over the past year, we passed several pieces of legislation that I believe is going to enhance our economic development across the state. We've revolutionized the way municipal employees receive health care. For instance, just this year alone, let me first back up a little bit. When the healthcare cost containment bill for the cities and towns, allowing the cities and towns to join the state system, it was estimated that the cities and towns would save some $100 million. I'm pleased to report that as a result of that reform which we brought in, the cities and towns at this point are saving $175 million on health care costs. We've taken action to assist small businesses and municipalities, and we've implemented solutions that will create hundreds of thousands of jobs in the Commonwealth. When I was invited to speak to here today, I was told the discussion would be on the state of the economic development in the city of Revere. And that was easy because Kathy Reinstein spoke about everything and anything from her birth till now at last month's speech. So there really wasn't much more for me to say in terms of what we have done. But as I've said before, Revere, I believe, is a city which is on the move. And I'm the one who phrased that at the Sandcastle Festival, and it has since been stolen by our good mayor. But that's okay, I'm all right with that. As long as we all get the conception that Revere is a city on the move. Revere, like many other small cities across the state, is full of small businesses and hard-working men and women searching for opportunity. Comprehensive jobs legislation that was recently signed into law by Governor Patrick included strong support for small businesses, creating a small business online portal that makes business assistance resources easy to find and be more user-friendly. This resource offers a one-stop shop for information on loan programs, business counseling, technical assistance, tax information, permitting information, and sources of regulatory relief. I encourage all the small businesses to take advantage of this resource. The bill also requires that the Small Business Loan Review Boards to offer more formal feedback to small business owners when a business loan is denied. It builds on an initiative from the 2010 Economic Development Reorganization legislation by requiring PREM to invest at least $100 million in institutions that make capital available to small businesses. And this is a change from the original $50 million that we had back when we first filed this legislation. But in addition to supporting small businesses, I believe that the path to success in this community is threefold. We can see positive change by facilitating the economic growth, maintaining strength in our education system, and renewing this city's great traditions, reestablishing a strong sense of community. It's no secret that we have found ourselves fighting our way through the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. But as a community and as a state, we folks are moving in the right direction. When I became Speaker back in January of 2009, the state's unemployment rate at that time was 7%. It was growing. Later, as the economy worsened, it grew to 8.7%. Today, as we are here today, we are at 6.5%, much lower than the national average and much lower than averages from across this country. During the years of the economic downturn, I believe that Massachusetts has more than outclassed our closest competitors in a number of key factors. It's interesting to note that as I speak to other speakers of the House from throughout the country, I hear many different stories in terms of what's going on in their states that they happen to represent. My good friend, Speaker Perez from California, tells me how California is doing a lot better than it was before. 2 years ago, they were faced with a $35 billion deficit. Now they've got it down to $18 billion that they are in deficit. That's great. That's wonderful, I told them. As we're sitting on $1 billion in our stabilization fund here in Massachusetts. As a matter of fact, if you want to get paid in California, they primarily pay you by IOU right now. True story. I talked to other speakers as well who tell me these horror stories that they can't agree with the Senate, who can't agree with the governor on budget, and some have been forced for the necessity of having to go to court to resolve their budget differences. And I'm pleased to say that we don't have that type of problem here in Massachusetts. Last year, working with Governor Patrick, Lieutenant Governor Murray, the Senate President, Treasurer Grossman, and myself, we saw for the first time in our history a bond rating increase in these difficult fiscal times. Today, our bond rating stands at AA+, the highest rating in our state's history. And that is because we made the difficult decisions and we managed our state well. As I mentioned earlier, Massachusetts is one of only 4 states in the United States that has over $1 billion in their stabilization fund. And that's, I believe anyways, it was because of good fiscal prudence that we've worked so hard to attain. Earlier this year, we passed a fiscal year 13 budget, which I often refer to as the local aid budget, because I think it focuses heavily on delivering local aid to cities and towns and fostering job creation in Massachusetts. I'm proud to say that the fiscal year 13 budget increased the amount of unrestricted government aid that Revere will receive. This year, Revere receives close to $9 million in unrestricted government aid. That's an increase of over $600,000 from the last fiscal year. We've also allotted funds to make necessary infrastructure improvements in Revere. We provided, or we approved, I should say, legislation that provides $10 million for traffic and streetscape improvements on Lower Revere and Ocean Ave. $10 million for the Lower North Shore Highway Improvement Project, including improvements to Route 1 in the cities of Revere, Saugus, and Malden. Improvements at Mahoney Circle, Brown Circle, and Copeland Circle. Improvements at the intersections of Revere and Route 60, and improvements at the intersection of Route 145 and Route 16. All of these areas, I think you all will agree, are in need of some work. We also provided some $500,000 for the design, siting, and initial permitting for a commuter rail station at Wonderland. And we're going to need that station, folks, if we're going to have a soccer stadium down at Wonderland Park, which is the mayor's dream. And we're on our way to get that. That's something you and I talked about, Mr. Mayor, about the importance of being able to get people to that new soccer stadium. How are we doing with that, by the way? We moving along with that, you think? We're moving along? Oh, good. Architects tomorrow, we're moving along with that soccer stadium. I personally don't care for the sport, but that's all right. Well, no one really cares anyways, right? If I care, I don't care for the sport. If I may, if I can just, I really shouldn't do this because I'm in a very serious conversation here. But of all the sports I coached, I've done baseball a little bit with hockey and basketball and whatnot. Soccer was the only sport I can't understand. No offense, Mr. Mayor. I'm not trying to tell you not to go for that stadium. I think you should. But the only call I ever made is when the ball went out of bounds, that I blew the whistle to say the ball's out of bounds. That's the only thing I ever knew. I never knew whether they were to throw it in, kick it in, use their head, don't use their head. But anyways, let me just get back to what we're talking about, because this is very, very serious. Whether we have a stadium or we don't have a stadium, I like to think that Wonderland Park is up and coming. Back in June, I joined with many of my colleagues here and some of you as well from the business community about a ribbon cutting that we had at the new parking structure at Wonderland. The garage, I believe, is one of the first steps towards restoring Wonderland Park to its original beauty and will act as an economic stimulant at a time that I believe that we need it most. The structure was also a precursor to further revitalization efforts in the area, namely the new, gorgeous new Mini Zachem pedestrian bridge, so-called, connecting the station to the bridge and the construction of a Wonderland waterfront plaza. These new features are going to attract tourism, new families, and most importantly, which I've been talking about for 4 years, is new jobs. Revere is also a city with a great tradition. We are so fortunate to represent a city famous for being a coastal community. We live minutes from the water. Over the past year, we've taken action to preserve the beauty of our beaches and attract more tourism. One of my biggest favorite things about Revere Beach is our annual sandcastle competition as well. It seems to get more and more extravagant each year. I think that this year's replica of the Green Monster was by far one of the highlights that I can remember over the years on the Sandcastle Festival. And I was so pleased that for a mere $5,000 donation that I was able to get my name on that Green Monster. So you too next year, for a mere $5,000, you too may be able to get your names on one of those sandcastles. That will be coming next year as well. But the competition, the celebration, and the fireworks make Revere Beach, I believe, a can't-miss destination every summer for people not only in this area, but I'm going to suggest all over New England. Events such as these are what bring the community together and help establish a strong sense of Revere pride. And at the end of August, we cut the ribbon at Revere's other beach, the new and improved Short Beach. Through improved and widened sidewalks, new street lighting, and replacement beach ramps, we made Short Beach more accessible while creating a safer environment for those who visit. With a new parking lot providing easy access to the beach and the installation of a new beach, seating and showers, bike racks and more, we have made it easier and more enjoyable for folks to come to Short Beach and enjoy a day with family and friends. And we've created a beautiful nature path right across the street to that beach that allows walkers and explorers to take in a truly capturing the picturesque beauty of our marshlands. A big thank you, by the way, to the Governor, the Secretary Sullivan, and Commissioner Lambert, and the folks at DCR for seeing that project through to fruition. But shifting back to economic development, we in the legislature have focused a lot of our energy on strengthening our workforce via our education system. And that is reflected right here in Revere, too. Today's students are tomorrow's small business owners, CEOs, and government leaders. The key to a strong economic future is to turn the students of today into the innovators of tomorrow. Before anyone else was talking about workforce training in community colleges, getting our workers the skills they need to succeed and making our employers can find workers with the right skills was the focus of the House. It is my strong belief that community colleges can build on their existing relationships with university systems as well as their own capacity to prepare individuals with skills to support our existing and emerging industries. I am of the strong belief that we can do more with our community colleges than we have in the past. Well, I think that for the most part, especially over here at Bunker Hill Community College and North Shore Community College, those folks have done a wonderful job. I think that we can do more. And that's why it was my proposal in this past year's budget, and something which I'm pushing very, very hard on, is to try to make sure that the students that are attending the community colleges are prepared for the jobs of tomorrow, that the presidents of these community colleges go out and work with the local employers, whether they're big industry or small or whatever. So at the end of a 2-year program, we can have students which are getting an associate degree at a community college, and at the same time, they're going to have a job in 2 years. And I've seen this work so well. I can tell you, for instance, at Bunker Hill Community College, they have an agreement with NSTAR, for instance. Just some of the men and women who work on the line of NSTAR, they have an agreement with NSTAR so that they will educate those students, and at the end of those 2 years, that student will have an associate degree from Bunker Hill and a job waiting for he or she at NSTAR. And I've seen it happen also with the good folks at the East Boston Neighborhood Health Center as well. They've worked out an agreement. I see North Shore Community College working with the folks at GE. Again, so at the end of 2 years, they'll not only have an associate's degree, but they're going to have a job. And I think that's the way that we have to go here in Massachusetts. And I think that it's important that we do so. And taking that a step further, we have maintained a sharp focus on our public school system in communities across the state as well. In this year's budget, Revere will receive over $46.2 million in Chapter 70/education funding, an increase of over $5.4 million from last year. Our public school system here in the city is thriving. Nearly every school in our city has been renovated and improved, and just earlier this month, the Massachusetts School Building Authority moved the McKinley School into the final design phase. And compared to other urban schools, Revere's MCAS scores this year were pretty remarkable. So with all this said, I think we have a lot to be proud of in the city. And hopefully I've conveyed that pretty clearly here today. Because I think this is a wonderful city, not only to represent with the greatest people that I could be fortunate to represent, but I truly believed everything that I said today, that if you're going to invest anywhere in Massachusetts, except for Winthrop, this is the this is the place to be. That Revere truly is a city on the move. And I think And I didn't even, folks, talk about casinos, because that would take a little bit too long. But again, I want to congratulate the mayor, my colleagues, city councilors, and most importantly, all the businesses here in the city for seeing that. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you so that we can bring more prosperity and success to our great city. Thank you very, very much. Questions or anything? Questions? No?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'd rather not, but if you want. Does anyone have any questions or anything? They're all sleeping? Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much.
Bob, at this time, the Chamber of Commerce would really like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your continuing support, in particular with your offer and invitation for applications of a significant economic development grant targeted for the Revere Chamber of Commerce. We want to thank you personally. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a couple of announcements. There'll be a new installation of offices in January, and we'd also like to invite anyone that's a member of the Chamber of Commerce, if you'd like to move up to be a board member, please contact myself or Bob Upton or Darlene at the Chamber. We'd truly, truly appreciate your support and help. And with that said, I have a fabulous board. They make me look good, and I just want to thank them all today because they've worked real hard over the past 3 years. Thank you very, very much. There's also a form on your table. If you have a guest speaker in mind or someone you'd like to hear speak at a luncheon, please fill that out. Or if you'd like to speak at a luncheon, if you have something to offer for the businesses in the city of Revere, we'd be happy to review that with you, give you a call, get back to you, and maybe you can be a speaker. Or if you have any ideas of who we can have. Because these luncheons are a real success, and we want to bring topics to you that you will truly enjoy, and to get the everybody coming back, hopefully month after month. December 13th, our next luncheon, it'll be our holiday luncheon. We have our featured speaker, State Treasurer Steve Grossman. At this time, Bob Upton would like to do something very special.
At this time, if I could, I would like to invite Speaker DeLeo to come back up. We at the Revere Chamber of Commerce, the Board of Directors at the Chamber of Commerce, we'd like to present Speaker DeLeo with just a little something for us, from us at the Revere Chamber of Commerce, because we understand how much you appreciate the history of Revere Beach, but also the town of Winthrop. We have a little something we'd like to present to you, sir. This is a Norman Guttrow print of the Narrow Gauge Railroad, which, as most of us know, is the connection between Revere Beach and Winthrop. So it's just something we'd like you to have on behalf of the Chamber and the Board.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Bob. I'd also like to thank Joseph Fortunato from Revere TV. Thank you, Joe.
Hello, viewing audience. My name is Jane Rizzo, and I am a member of the Revere Chamber of Commerce. And it's my honor today to introduce to you our soon-to-be past president, Laura D'Amico, as well as our incoming president, Bob Upton. And I just have a couple of questions to ask them today about the success of the Chamber of Commerce over the last couple of years during Laura's tenure. And let me kind of direct it over to Laura. What is your most valuable, cherished process that you went through during this Chamber of Commerce, bringing in membership and involvement with City Hall? Like in your own words, if you could describe that for us.
Sure, Jane. I'd have to say my most valued is putting together a board that they've just surpassed all of my expectations. Having a fabulous first vice president, second vice president, executive board. Without them, I'd be nothing. They are my true assets. They've worked hard. We've revitalized the chamber. We're so excited to have the City Hall and the mayor's support, which is vital to this organization. We haven't had that in the past, and we're truly, truly honored to have it today.
Isn't that wonderful? And I just want to ask Bob Upton a couple words, because he's coming in after such success that Laura had on the board. That, what is his projection for next year, and how are you going to be handling the new members coming onto the board and membership?
Jane, thank you very much. I think it's a great time to be coming in. Laura and I have worked very hard to build the board. We've seen it as a very important part of building membership with the Chamber of Commerce and getting folks involved in the business community. It's a great time in Revere. We think there's a lot of excitement with the economic development seminar. I forget what the name of it is, but the economic summit starting to occur. I think it's an exciting time for Revere. I think redevelopment at Revere Beach is another important factor for business development here in Revere. I think, as Laura said, having a strong board of directors and our executive officers has been a real strong development for the Revere Chamber of Commerce, and I'm looking forward to continue to work with them as we move forward. And I encourage other businesses in the city of Revere to come with us at the Chamber of Commerce and get involved with us at the board of director level for these initiatives.
That's wonderful, Bob. Thank you so much. And I do have to say, the networking with the Revere Chamber of Commerce, businesses to businesses, and moving forward and having a combined census of their concerns with the city is so valuable. And it wouldn't be the Chamber of Commerce without noting the businesses that allow these two to come forward here and really volunteer their time for such a wonderful organization. Bob Upton is the owner and deals with reverebeach.com, which is a wonderful website, very educational, up-to-date, and we congratulate for his efforts as well as being in the real estate industry. And Miss Laura D'Amico here works for Century 21 North Shore, and trust me, both of these people are wonderful to the Chamber of Commerce, and we wouldn't have been so successful, and we look forward to being even maybe more successful. Thank you guys, and have a great day.